The ongoing war between America and Houthiss has shocked everyone. On one hand, America is refusing to keep quiet, and on the other hand, Houthiss are also not keeping quiet. Even though America has launched a missile attack on Houthis, Houthiss still said in their AK statement that now they will respond to it. Today, in a surprise move that stunned even the US, Iran-backed militants in the Red Sea carried out a bold maneuver, escalating tensions in the already volatile Middle East. Iran-backed Houthi fighters targeted a US container ship in the Gulf of Aden with a ballistic missile. Backstage report reveals that Houthi terrorists managed to attack a US cargo ship with 3 missiles, which has shocked both the public and the Iranian leadership. Let us know the complete information in the video. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the Global Affairs channel so that you can easily watch all the new upcoming videos. The question now arises, could these attacks by Iranian-backed militants provoke a significant response from the US Navy, marking one of the most substantial reprisals in the Red Sea in years? Earlier in the day, around 2 p.m. time, US forces detected an anti-ship ballistic missile heading towards southern Red Sea commercial maritime routes, according to CENTCOM. However, the missile failed during its flight and crashed in Yemen, as reported by the US Central Command. 3 missiles were launched from the Houthi-held Red Sea port city of Hodeida at around 16 GSAA time. One of these missiles successfully struck the ship's port side, while the other 2 failed to reach the sea. The incident adds a new layer of complexity to the ongoing situation in the region, raising concerns about potential consequences and the US Navy's response. The events unfolded after a series of recent military actions, including a US warship intercepting a cruise missile fired by Houthi militants. As a result, the US Navy has issued a red alert, urging sailors to be prepared for any situation and seeking reinforcements from US allies. The objective appears to be a concerted effort to neutralize the Houthi terrorists' offensive capabilities, while the targeted US cargo ship, identified as the Eagle Gibraltar, sustained minor damage. It remains stable and is moving away from the affected area. The vessel was transporting steel goods and fortunately, no crew members were harmed. In response to the incident, the US Department of Transportation issued a marine notice, advising US-flagged and US-owned commercial vessels to avoid specific locations in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The situation remains fluid, and the international community is closely watching the developments. The Biden administration faces the challenge of formulating an appropriate response to the Houthi offensive, while considering the broader implications for regional stability. The question of how the US military will navigate these challenges and protect American interests in the Red Sea is yet to be answered. Hours after a US warship successfully intercepted a cruise missile launched by Houthi militants, a fresh missile strike by the Houthis prompted the US Navy to issue a red alert. Sailors are now being urged to stay prepared for any situation, with additional support from US allies being sought. Evidently, significant efforts are underway to neutralize the Houthi terrorists' ability to launch offensives. The United States military's response to this new Houthi offensive remains uncertain, but all options are being considered. The conduct of Iran is expected to further escalate the conflict. Despite the uncertainties, the top priority for the US military is to ensure the safety of US individuals and businesses both on land and at sea. Ambry and Dryad Global Maritime Risk Consultancies have identified the targeted ship as the Eagle Gibraltar, a bulk carrier flying the Marshall Islands flag and owned by the US. Ambry suggests that the attack was aimed at US interests in retaliation for recent US military strikes against Houthi positions in Yemen. Eagle Bulk Shipping has reported that the vessel sustained minor damage after being hit by an unidentified projectile while cruising 160 miles off the Gulf of Aden. Fortunately, no seamen were harmed, and the cargo hold carrying steel goods incurred only minor damage. Despite the impact, the vessel remains stable and is currently moving away from the affected area, as confirmed by Eagle Bulk in a statement. The incident emphasizes the challenges and risks faced by maritime activities in the region. According to the notice from the UK Merchant Marine Operations, UKMTO, one of the missiles struck the Eagle Gibraltar from above on its port side. Ambry additionally mentioned that, although the bulk carrier remained seaworthy, the incident caused a fire in its hold. Satellite monitoring data indicated that the Eagle Gibraltar was initially heading towards the Suez Canal, but swiftly changed course during the attack. These new attacks unfolded a day after a land-based US fighter aircraft, successfully intercepted a Houthi anti-ship cruise missile aimed at the USS Laboon, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. This occurred in the aftermath of US and UK airstrikes against Houthi sites in Yemen. Despite vows of reprisal from Yemeni militants against US outposts in the region, no such actions have been taken, as reported by a US defense official. AMBRI, a British maritime security organisation, assessed on Monday morning that the Eagle of Gibraltar is not affiliated with Israel. However, a senior Houthi official asserted on the same day that American ships were being targeted, stating, "The fact that they are Americans is enough for us to target them," as mentioned by Nasser al-Din. The Houthi strikes on cargo ships in the Red Sea have compelled several major shipping corporations to alter their routes, leading to substantial disruptions in global trade. In response to Monday's incident, the U.S. Department of Transportation issued a marine notice advising U.S.-flagged and U.S.-owned commercial vessels to avoid specific locations in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Qatar Energy, a prominent oil business and the world's second largest, declared on Monday its decision to halt shipments through the route until receiving a security alert. On Monday, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced that military operations had successfully eradicated 13 Houthi missile sites. Sunak emphasised that while he refrains from speculating on future actions, taking no decisive measures poses a threat to regional security. According to US intelligence, coordinated attacks by the US and UK on Houthi military positions resulted in damage to approximately 1/4 of their arsenals. Despite these efforts, Houthi senior negotiator Mohammed Abdel Salam cautioned Reuters that attacks on Israeli ships or those en route to Israeli ports would persist despite the airstrikes led by the US. Washington contends that Iran plays a role in enhancing the Houthi missile capacity, a claim Tehran vehemently denies. Iranian Foreign Minister Hussein Amir Abdollahian urged the West to swiftly end the conflict in Yemen during a press conference on Monday. The events have cast doubt on the effectiveness of the United States Red Sea policy. While no casualties were reported aboard the cargo ship and the missiles targeting the US Navy were successfully neutralized, the issues in the region are intensifying. The Houthi rebels' utilization of Iranian-made ballistic missiles has heightened tensions in the region. However, there seems to be limited perceived benefit for the United States. The current situation suggests that bombing Yemen primarily serves the interests of Iran, Russia, and China, rather than those of the United States. Accepting this bait, President Joe Biden initiating an American air assault against Yemen would likely be a strategic and costly error. Such an action is improbable to deter the Houthi rebels and could potentially lead to further regional and global escalation. The recent events mark the first 2 rounds of conflict this week between the Houthi rebels and the United States, with subsequent rounds expected. The outcome remains uncertain, but this strike is anticipated to embolden the Houthi rebels in facing what is considered the most serious threat to shipping in decades. To address this challenge, the Biden administration must establish a robust alliance to protect freedom of passage. In December, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin initiated Operation Prosperity Guardian, a multinational naval force involving 20 nations tasked with safeguarding Red Sea trade. However, over half of the partner countries remain unidentified. While some nations made small contributions, others, such as Canada, the Netherlands, and Norway, contributed more significantly. Italy, India, and France opted to send ships to locations outside of coalition authority, potentially posing command and control challenges. Notably, certain countries, including Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen's internationally recognized government, refrained from defending their right to navigation, aiming to sever ties with Israel. Similarly, other trade nations like Germany, Turkey, Japan, and South Korea are not actively participating. The Biden administration must differentiate between worldwide freedom of navigation and Israel's conflict with Hamas. This distinction can begin by ensuring that there are no passive participants in the Red Sea, with all countries shipping cargo through the Suez Canal joining in these efforts. Additionally, the recent US attack in northern Yemen is unlikely to halt the Houthi rebels. Instead, it may reinforce their sense of divine purpose and strengthen their alliance with Iran. The ongoing US air battle is unlikely to deter the Houthi rebels from continuing to launch cost-effective drones and makeshift missiles at merchant ships in the Red Sea. Additionally, the Houthi leadership remains immune to US economic sanctions. Although there is a possibility that the US Treasury might consider reimposing sanctions on the Houthis, similar to the actions taken by the Trump administration, It is worth noting that the Houthi leadership does not engage in financial activities such as establishing bank accounts, trade, investment, shopping, or traveling to the West. As a result, sanctions may inadvertently divert attention away from the Houthis' impact on Yemen's humanitarian crisis. While US policymakers express eagerness to take action, it is evident that sanctions alone will have limited impact on influencing Houthi decision-making. The Biden administration's optimal strategic and policy choice lies in significantly bolstering the naval task force. This approach aims to convey to the Houthi rebels that the international community values the freedom of navigation. Such an alliance would have the authority to defend itself against Houthi assaults and ensure the safety of foreign shipping in the Red Sea. Although not a flawless solution, a larger worldwide naval task force emerges as the most sensible military method for sustaining free passage and facilitating trade. In addition to strengthening naval capabilities, the United States should actively support diplomatic initiatives by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to resolve rather than escalate the conflict in Yemen. Lastly, a more extensive alliance would serve as a powerful signal to China, which aspires to control trading lanes in the South China Sea. By fostering a united global marine coalition that advocates for unhindered shipping, the international community can effectively communicate this message to China.